All right, we're back with the show once again. It's Gerald coming right back at you here. It's coming around the corner here. It's just a little over a week away. It is Avengers Endgame, and so many of my good friends out there are sharing their Marvel memories with us, including a man I hold so dear to my heart, and I'll tell you why, because he's just got a great spirit about him. He is the enigmatic host of The Voice from the Underground. And I say that because you have with HD, you have the refinement, the dignified air about him. With you, it's all about the charisma and the energy. But I haven't figured out what Dutch is.
I don't think Dutch knows what Dutch is. I think
Yeah,
that's a fair statement.
we'll have to work on that later.
Yeah,
But
we'll
it
work on
is
that. We'll work on that.
There you go. There you go. We'll work on that a little bit later. But it is a good man indeed. It is one of the hosts of The Voice of the Underground. You got to check out his show along with HD and Dutch. All three of those great guys are together as The Voice of the Underground. You got to check out their podcast today on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so many other different outlets. It is my good friend. It is TJ Johnson. It's always good to have you on the show.
And it's always good to be on. Every time your intros get better and better, I need to start paying you for these. The checks in the mail. Let's put it that way.
There you go. There you go. All right. All right. I would throw in a Costco joke there, but I think I'll just go ahead and edit that part.
No, please don't. Yeah. Let's not. Let's just not.
Fair enough. Fair enough, my friend. It's always great again to have you here on the show. And I'll tell you what, it's right around the corner.
It is.
It's a week away. It is Endgame, the most anticipated movie, dare I say, of this generation when it comes to us. I mean, we can go back, quite a ways to the cyclical films, over the decades that have meant something to a large medium of fans. I'm going to have to say Empire Strikes Back because I was a little too young for Star Wars, but I was at Empire Strikes Back. I know a lot of people circulate as far as the millennials today, as far as Avatar being that premiere movie that everybody had to go see, that event movie. I think that event movie for this decade is coming right around the corner, and it is Endgame. But there's a lot of Marvel memories that people have been sharing with me as far as what is important to them in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You've been on this show on more than one occasion sharing your Marvel thoughts, and I just need to hear it one more time as far as your favorite Marvel memory and how it will tie into Avengers Endgame.
Oh, man. So you're asking me to take the last 10 years of Marvel related movie experiences and try to find one singular moment that I can make my Marvel moment. Jeez, that's really
it's actually bordering on 11 years now, but they want to keep it 10 because the logo.
That looks good. It looks cool, right, with the 10. Geez, well, if I had to say my favorite, it would probably have been the release of Black Panther. Just again, what that, and I think I was on here. We were on here talking about exactly what Black Panther was and what it meant to me and what it meant to so many others, not just myself.
Just the enthusiasm and passion you had.
Yeah.
It lifted me up, and I know it lifted up a lot of our listeners as well.
Absolutely. Well, that's awesome. But that was definitely my moment. Again, just being able to, and not that, to be very clear, it's not that I don't relate to other superheroes. It's not like I don't understand the Batmans and the Spider-Mans and the Supermans of the world. It's not that I don't get a sense of pride in talking about those guys. And quite frankly, I think my runner-up is starting to be Captain America. He's becoming really near and dear to my heart. And I don't know if it's Chris Evans or if it's just I'm starting to really identify with his take on it. But I'm really starting to like Captain America. But if I still had to give one Marvel moment, if you will, it's definitely the release of Black Panther. Being able to say that there's a superhero that resonates with the African American community in a way and has been received in a way that mainstream media can now accept Black Panther. And it's not that people didn't know who Black Panther was prior to the movie, but he didn't have the same level of I don't want to say. He just wasn't as well known. He wasn't a household name. Chadwick Boseman has done something in creating or in bringing to life this character off the pages to the point we haven't seen anything else like that as a moviegoer that's African American. And it's nice to be able to have someone that looks like you, but it's nice to have someone that looks like you that we can all still celebrate. It's not just an exclusive African American movie. It's not just an exclusive African American superhero. He's still a superhero that we can all relate to. Everybody has this journey where they want to figure out who they are and figure out the right way to go about doing things. And everybody has points in time where they have to realize that the people that they looked up to sometimes made mistakes and sometimes weren't exactly the perfect people that we thought they were. And that's okay too, because that's part of growing up, that's part of living life, and that's part of learning. And I think that was it was an awesome coming of age story. It was an awesome breakout story. And it was a moment that I don't think I'll ever forget, being able to see everybody in unison going Wakanda forever. And it was an awesome thing to experience. It's an awesome thing to be a part of. It's an awesome thing to see. And I can't wait for the sequel. But I will tell you what's about to happen with Endgame. This is going to be, I mean, if you talk to me after Endgame, that's probably going to be a new Marvel moment for me. I think Endgame is going to be just incredible. Just incredible.
I think so as well. I mean, if it was segmented for just one particular part of the audience, it wouldn't have generated over $1.4 billion worldwide at the box office.
Right.
It appealed to a mass audience. And that's when you're really hitting on a high note with audiences, when you appeal to not just one part of the equation, but the entire equation as a whole. And definitely Black Panther as a singular story did that probably about as good, if not better, than any of the other Marvel movies, save maybe Iron Man 3. I think that generated just as much, because then after that, you're talking about the Captain America Civil Wars and the Avenger movies as the only other movies, and now Captain Marvel as the only other movies to really generate that type of worldwide enthusiasm. And it's just so exciting to see now it's building up with what happened in Infinity War, closer and closer to the anticipation that we all have for Endgame.
Yes, absolutely. And brother, the excitement is palpable. I thought people were excited for Game of Thrones, and I'm one of those guys that was excited for Game of Thrones, and still am. Let me be very clear. But with Endgame, it's everybody. It's adults, it's teenagers, it's kids. You know, with Game of Thrones, it's more catered to the adults, obviously. But with this, it's everybody. It's feverish at this point. It's like it's palpable. You can almost feel the excitement resonating off of people. You can see the electricity in there. It's pretty cool to see. I gotta admit, man, I didn't think I'd experience something like this in my lifetime. I just didn't think movies would be able to pull that kind of emotion out of me. I mean, I enjoy a movie like anybody else, but I just didn't see anything being able to pull that kind of excitement, that kind of fever, that kind of just overall, I don't know what to do with myself, out of me, you know, and to be able to experience something like that in my lifetime, it's pretty cool. It's actually really, really cool. I'm excited.
And this actually is because we live in a different age now, and you can get your tickets ahead of time. Fandango, Adam, you can go to the specified different theater chains. You can buy off their websites. It's not the same when we were kids, because when we were kids, we had to wait for these type of event films 2, 3, 4 hours. I always tell the story of how with Empire Strikes Back, and that's the first major movie I ever went to as an 11-year-old. There was literally a mile-long wait because of the limited amount of theaters way back when, and that's what you had to do back then. It might actually, for the first time in a long time, generate back to that, just because of the sheer demand of people wanting to be a part of something special in Avengers Endgame. There's a limited number of theaters that are going to be playing it, simply because you could have it on all these 4,000 plus theaters, but there's a limited amount of times that they can run it because of the 3-hour runtime. You lose an extra showing each day. Some of the theaters are trying to combat that by showing it at earlier times. There's even theaters like in the Philippines where they're showing it 24 hours a day for the first 5 days of its actual run. It's in, those are actually preventative measures, but for the most part, if you're in certain areas, you're going to have a hard time seeing it on the first weekend unless you've got the tickets already. So that might mean you have to wait for a long time, and people are actually doing that in order just to be part of the special event.
It's insane. I've seen it where on eBay they've got tickets on sale for like $3,000
I've
for
seen as high as 5. I've seen auction bids over $200-300 that people have actually bid on. Though I'm not sure if anybody's taken the $5,000 yet, but I know when you're talking about spending $200 or $300 just to go see a movie, that to me is that's just wild.
Yeah, I can wait until Monday. I can wait until Monday if that's the case. Now to be very, very clear, I'm not waiting till Monday. I'm going to see it Saturday. I've already got my tickets. But it doesn't change the fact that if I was one of the people that were not lucky enough to get a ticket for opening weekend, I'm not gonna spend $400 to go see the movie when I can just wait until Monday. I can wait until next weekend if I have to, because one way or the other, here's the thing about Endgame. And we heard that there were some spoilers that were leaked. We heard that there was some footage that was leaked. And I'm gonna be very, very honest with you. I would not actively look for it. But if I happen to stumble across it and I've seen it, it's not gonna change the fact that I'm going to see this film. Like, this has been 10, 11 years worth of culmination. This is an event. So rather I've seen 20 minutes worth of spoiled footage or not, I'm going to see this film. It's not going to change the fact that, oh, I've seen some spoilers. I don't want to see it anymore. No, it's just going to make me want to see it that much more. So when you have a movie that's reached that type of fandom and that's got that type of a devotion to it, it truly does become an event. And it's not just, oh, another movie came out. Like, no, this is Endgame. This is everybody's going to talk about it. If you don't see it that weekend, you gotta have to turn everything off, all social media, all water cooler talk. Don't go to work, because everybody's going to talk about it. It's that type of thing. It's very similar to Game of Thrones. Everybody wants to talk about Game of Thrones. Everybody is going to be talking about Endgame and what they got out of it, and what they felt. It's an event, man, and we need things like that in this world to bring people together. We're in such a divided place right now, and I don't want to get on my soapbox here, but it's awesome to see something like that bring people together.
Because that's for your show, man. That's for your show.
Absolutely. It's just great to see it. I'm happy that I'm happy to say that I've gotten to see something like this in my lifetime. It's pretty cool.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Once again, I'm on with TJ Johnson. He is the man. Well, one of the great guys behind the Voice from the Underground podcast. He's actually the sweet, smooth sounding voice that's on there. If you want to just get a heads up on that. He is also, again, part of the Voice from the Underground podcast. You got to check it out today on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and so many other podcast outlets. I got to ask you one last thing when it comes to Black Panther, and then I'll ask one more question on top of that. With Black Panther, we saw, unfortunately, he was the one. In fact, I saw an interview with Kevin Feige saying he was one of the last individuals that they had a hard time putting together on which side, whether he was going to live or whether he was going to get dusted, as far as the call that they were going to make on him. But they felt the fact that if they wanted to go ahead and focus on the original 6, that they would have to go ahead and have him part of the dusted individuals, but leaving Okoye into the mix as far as her is concerned. How integral do you think she is going to be part of it? Because there's rumors as far as what Scarlett Johansson has let out, that there's possibility of her and the Dora Milaje being an integral part of Avengers Endgame.
That's a great question, and I wish I had a really, really, really good answer for that. I think ultimately, I'm just excited that Okoye is going to be part of it. I'm not exactly sure what her role is, and while I would love the idea of her and Black Widow and well, obviously, you can't do it with, goodness, you can't do it with, what's her name? You can't do it with the Scarlet Witch, because she was dust.
No, she was dust. She's like Kansas dust in the wind.
Yeah, she's dust in the wind as well. But anything, this movement as far as the power shifting in regards to women, and especially women in these kind of movies, with Captain Marvel and Wonder Woman, and I'm excited anytime you get to see that, because as many people know, I have a girl. I have a little girl, and I want her to be able to see not only women represented, but women that look like her. And seeing Okoye in something like this, where she could play an integral role, that's going to be awesome. That's going to be awesome to be able to show little kids, be it whatever color, whatever race, whatever creed, being able to show them and say, there are people that look like you, that are the same sex as you are, that can still perform and can still be big time action stars. And baby, anybody can do it. You can do it as well. So I'm excited from that aspect of it. I'm excited to see Okoye. I'm a huge fan of Denai Guerrera. Ever since her first opening days on The Walking Dead, I've been absolutely hooked on her. So anything that's got her in it, I'm all for it. Anytime I can get more of her, I'm all for it too.
Oh, she's a beautiful, fantastic actress. She's really very dignified and very classy. Every time I go ahead and see her interviews, she just really knows how to knows how to really put a good foot forward as far as her persona is concerned, both on and off the camera. But they always talk about Star-Lord being one of the main villains in Infinity War. They also talk about Thor also being a mess up as far as not going for the head. But you know what? I think Denai Guerrera could have had the best shot against Thanos. You know how?
How is that?
As I always say, she just could have brought her machete from The Walking Dead and just slice his head off, and that would have ended the story right there and then.
You know what? I wouldn't have been too upset about that. I think they wouldn't have gotten away with that at Disney. But I wouldn't have personally been upset about that at all. Be honest with you.
Well, Thanos would have said right to Thor, "You should have gone for the head," and Denai could have come right from behind and said, "Okay, there you go, end of story, done right there." But you know what? She's got that real sharp spear, so maybe she'll go ahead and do some heavy damage in Infinity War. Although we would all say, hey, the machete's better. But I'm just saying.
It's all good.
Because she's got that she's got that backhand that she slices those zombies. But need I digress? One last question to ask you, my friend, before we head on out, and that is this: why is the voice from the underground with you, HD, and yes, Dutch too? Why are you guys such a great mix together and provide such a great podcast each and every time you guys go ahead and get on the air?
Well, that's a fantastic question. I hate to say it, but I think you might have us mistaken with another podcast. When you're saying great content, you've definitely got the wrong ones. Now, what I can tell you is that we're a group of guys that enjoy each other. We're a group of guys that bounce ideas off of each other, and we all, while we don't always agree on everything, we respect opinions. And I think that's the important part in regards to any type of roundtable discussion. When you're dealing with different topics, such as politics or relationships or gender biases or anything, pop culture, it's great to be able to have opinions that you can bounce off of, but it's even more important that you're willing to listen. And the nice thing about Voice from the Underground, the podcast, is that we're not afraid of having those kind of conversations, but we also encourage back and forth. We encourage, not in a respectful way, we encourage people that have differing opinions than we do to share those opinions, because what we all need to do a little bit more of is listen, as opposed to being so quick to want to make judgment, pass judgment, talk over, be quick to be social justice warriors and want to all just absolutely jump down people's throats, when I think if we all had a little bit more understanding, the world would be a little bit of a better place. So it's always a fun time. It's always awesome to have all three of us in this, on air and being able to bounce off each other and just we just have fun. We just have fun. We try not to take ourselves too seriously. We have moments where it gets it can get heavy, but it's rightful indignation. It's things that need to be talked about and things that need to be said. And what I really appreciate about those guys is that we're not afraid to say those things with respect.
Absolutely. And you guys always are a great mix. Once again, that's Haas, TJ, and of course, Dutch as well. Got to throw the Cubs fan in there. It is the Voice from the Underground, the podcast. You got to check them out again on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, so many other different outlets. And I think your social media, I think it's at VFU Podcast. Am I correct?
You got it. That's our Twitter. That's our Instagram. It's at VFU Podcast. That's our Gmail. So you guys want to send us an email? I mean, we don't really get those a lot, but you're more than welcome to send us an email as well.
That's awesome. Yes, and also Voice from the Underground on Facebook. You can find them as well. Just go ahead and give them some love. Check out their awesome podcast. If you want to hear differentiating opinions on the world of sports, the world of pop culture, the world of politics, all those great topics are mishmashed into one. And again, it is just truly awesome to have you guys here. I got to get Haas on. I know I'm going to see him this weekend, so hopefully I'll be able to get his thoughts on Marvel Memories as well. And once again, it is TJ Johnson. Again, just so great to have you on the show as always, my friend, and just so thankful you're part of the pop culture cosmos.